Evelyn to Philip, June 2nd, 1945. My dearest, today marks 1 year that I am working for Mr. Bellet. In retrospect, it seems like a month, but it really has been a long time. My thought at the moment is, will I be here next June 2nd? Only time will tell. I received the enclosed letter from Jack N. In case you decide to read my letter first, I'll tell you the good news. He's Mr. Jack Nierenberg once more. He received a CDD. Darling, I'd give most anything to be able to address you as Mr. As I said in yesterday's email, I was unable to write yesterday. I had a very full day. I received a card from Worston asking me to call for the finished picture. I forgot to tell you that I didn't order any pictures except the one I was entitled to. Yesterday morning I called for the finished picture and was definitely disappointed. So much so that I do not intend to have any others made up. They certainly messed the picture up, and it wasn't colored nearly as much as I expected it to be, or as the picture coupon stated that it would be. Since you may be home soon, I will not order a picture for you as I said I would, until you've seen this one. If you decide then that you want one, we can still order. I went straight to work when I left Lorston's. All day long we were so busy that I had not even a moment to myself. On arriving home, I dressed Adele, had dinner, and kept my appointment with Dr. Lefko. We took the J bus and arrived at exactly 7:45, the time set by the doctor. He was amazed to hear that Adele had been wearing the one and only pair of shoes she possesses, and that they looked so well. There is still about a month's wear in her present shoes, and when they do become short, he suggested that I cut the toes and let her wear them that way, especially during the summer. He advised me to keep her in high shoes until the spring, stating that they do not give a child added support, but they do prevent the foot from sliding any distance, as in the case of low Oxfords, thus making the correction in the shoe more effective. He agreed that she has improved vastly. She used to toe in from the ankle to the toe, and now she only toes in just a bit below her large toe. Adele does have very weak feet for a child of her proportions. He gave me the usual prescription and charged me $5. I think you'll agree that that is quite a bit for a 10 to 15-minute visit. Because Adele was obedient, he promised her a lollipop. When asked what color she desired, she said red. He told her to pick it from the box, and sure enough, she picked the red one. I was glad she did, for he was much impressed with her actions. We spent more time waiting for both buses than the whole visit with the doc. The next hour was spent with Sarah, Petey, Betty, and company. Adele insisted that we stop there. It was 10:30 before Adele was in bed, and she awoke very early this morning. She has been unusually cranky all week, and I don't think these frequent night visits to the doctor are doing her any good. By 8 o'clock this evening, Adele and I were dressed, fed, and I was ready to leave when Mr. B and my dad called. My dad passed his physical for the insurance company and will take the job whenever they are ready. There are many reasons for his leaving Bellet, and I don't blame him one bit, if and when it does come about. I don't think I told you that Anne, the girl I work with, is going steady with a fine fellow who has already proposed marriage. He's going to give her a 2-carat or better engagement ring shortly. She never thought anything such as this could happen to her after her first unhappy and unfortunate marriage. She's a nice kid, and I'm glad for her. I'm sorry I said kid. She'll be 30. Not that 30 is old, understand, but it is much more when compared with 23, especially when I call her a kid. After work, I headed straight home. I walked to 8th and Market and Lit Brothers. On the spur of the moment, I decided to take a look at some of their dresses. While looking at some cottons, I passed a small rack of winter coats marked clearance. To make a long story short, I bought myself a good-looking copper-colored camel hair sport coat, winter weight. It's a most attractive coat, and when you consider that I paid the outrageously ridiculous price of exactly $10 for a $40 coat, then you understand why I bought it. Imagine, I paid $13 for Adele's tiny coat and $10 for my big one. It's just the sort of coat I've needed all along, so I'm right in there for next winter. Adele had a slight accident while I was gone. She fell with her blackboard while my mother was talking on the phone. She screamed, and my mom couldn't imagine what was wrong until she noted that two of Adele's fingers were caught between the slates. One finger is really torn deep, but the other is only little cuts. It's painful and will probably take a while to heal properly. Honestly, sweet, you needed 4 sets of good eyes to keep a close watch on them. Kids will be kids. I just had to write a longie after not writing most of the week. I received your long letter of May 19th through 20th before you took off for London, and I found it most interesting. So that's what the asterisks meant. You certainly did have a tough time of it, and I'm glad that part of it is over. June 3rd, 1945. I'm sorry I had to end my letter off so abruptly last night. It was much too late to continue, and I was very sleepy. I must apologize for running my letters together, as I seem to be doing so much of these past few weeks. But I am so restless I cannot write for more than a few minutes at a time. Goldie is going to Poughkeepsie next Saturday, and, in all probability, Mom will accompany her and spend some time in New York. Nothing more has been said about the house, pending a letter from you giving your opinions. Mom is spending the weekend with the Wymans and Chases. I was busy all day doing such things as cleaning, washing, sewing, etc., getting both Adele and my wardrobes into shape. Esther, George, who came in unexpectedly for 3 days, and Stevie were here. They are looking for a house for my Aunt Gussie, who wants to buy in this neighborhood. George looks great, having put on weight, and expects to be home again in a few weeks on a furlough. Adele was on the go all day. She doesn't nap, once in a while only, and goes to bed late. That is one of the reasons why I do not have the time to write as much as I'd like to. Really, baby, I'm on the go every minute of every day. You at least can look forward to a pass or a furlough for some relaxation. I wish I had at least 1 day off in a few months so that I could relax completely. When you come home, I want to go somewhere for a short while without Adele and just sleep and relax. Phil Strongen is somewhere in the Pacific. Baby, I hate to cut off again, but it is getting late and I must shower and set my hair if I'm to make a presentable appearance at work tomorrow. I love you so much, sweet, and no, there's no need to tell you just how much I do miss you. You know I am and always will be your adoring Ev. P.S. What ship took you across, and from what port did the ship leave? Exactly what day did you leave the country? Were you seasick going over? Where did you land? How far are you from London? Philip to Evelyn, 2nd June 1945. Dearest darling, today has been a lazy, uneventful day. It rained earlier, but it's clear now and the sun is out. While it rained, I read the volume of short stories and napped. Now that the sun is shining again, I'm thinking of having one of the fellows snap a few snaps of me. I've only used one film up till now, on a snap of Klein back at the base. Figure I'll use up the rest of the roll when I'm in my Class A's again. This being Saturday, we had an inspection by the colonel this morning. He made a quick trip down one aisle and up the other, asking each patient how he was getting along, and with a cheery good morning for everyone. Soon after, we stood by while Captain Brownlee made his routine morning rounds. When he came to me, he asked me how I felt. I told him my stomach wasn't feeling too good, probably because of that barium I drank yesterday. He told the nurse to give me Amphigel 3 times a day. Then he told me that the reports on the x-rays hadn't come back yet, and that he'd know something when they do. So it looks like I'll be here a few days more yet. Only 2 things keep worrying me. 1, having to do without your letters. 2, what might be going on back at the base. They may know something about what we're destined for by now. I can't use the ward phone to call our orderly room, but I understand there's a public phone down the road, and I think I'll use it to give the first sergeant a call tomorrow to hear what, if anything, is cooking. Meantime, I'm taking it easy and having a good rest for myself. Last night, being unusually wakeful, I went over in my mind, in the most minute detail, exactly how it would be when I come home. I imagined what you would do and say, and what I would do and say, and how I would greet the pumpkin, and what I would say to her. And then I thought how I would like to say to her, quote, "Baby, what would you most like to have in the world right now?" End quote. And then whatever it might happen to be, we'd go right off together and get it. Then I thought, suppose she says an automobile. What would I do then? Or a pony, or something equally impossible. Which made me think that we could, if one were to be had, put a couple of $100 into a car, because I would dearly love to take you and the pumpkin and maybe Mom for a long trip somewhere, or go up to the mountains for a couple of weeks, or any place you might have a yen for. Yes, Chippy, we'll definitely want a car when I get home. I can anticipate that. So it might not be a bad idea to talk to Harry and ask him to kind of keep an eye out for a goodbye. I don't think, though, that there's much chance of picking up anything decent, and what there is around is probably sky high and would make buying prohibitive. But talk to Harry and see what he says. Besides all that, I lay a long time and thought of the more exciting things, if you know what I mean, we used to do together and will do again someday. I relived all the sweet, thrilling, intimate moments of our courtship. What a red-hot affair that was. And tasted, almost, the delicious satin smoothness of your legs, breasts, and more intimate parts, and tried very hard to remember each and every stolen moment in its proper setting and sequence. I remember how eagerly I used to look to Friday nights when I could once more hold your young, pulsing freshness in my arms and kiss your sweet, yielding yet demanding mouth. And when Bob and Lena had gone out for the evening, how we did all those things for each other that our love dictated. I've often tried to isolate the exact moment when I actually fell in love with you, but the more I think about it, baby, the more I am convinced that there never was such a moment. Who can tell the exact instant the rosebud becomes a rose? That's how it was with me. You were a sweet song within me from the moment you sat between Yale and me in the car, and I envied Yale his girl. Then, each succeeding time I saw you, the song grew in sweetness and volume until I could hear or want nothing else. The song is muted now. The strings of the harp are still when there is no hand to pluck them to music. But it is only a diminuendo that waits the wave of fate's baton to send it soaring in crescendo to the climactic fortissimo. I adore you, Ev, sweetheart. A kiss for Adele. Love to all. Always your Phil.